Right, welcome to this discussion with David Furnell. Now, you may have, if you saw the last discussion with Chris Delisle, at the end, after I described him, Chris Delisle that is, as Rotary's Swiss Army knife for all his involvement, he pointed out that he considered himself less involved than David Furnell, and therefore we should do David Furnell, who'd done much more than he had. Well, David Furnell, welcome. You may, I know you're a very good friend with Chris.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start from the time that I first came into contact with yourself. Not so much one-to-one, but in the room. When I joined Rotary, you were already a member of Rotary. And I very quickly learned a very active and forthright member of Rotary who puts an awful lot into it. In fact, this year when I reported that Chris Delisle had, if you like, marshalled the field, he'd taken over from you in all the previous years, many previous years. And of course,
about 12, I think it was.
Yes, and I still saw you still involved, even though Chris was technically the marshal. You was in there offering the sort of advice that you'd done before when you was marshalling the field, and that's just one coincidence, I think, but it's only one of many things that you've done, because you've supported the fireworks, you supported the half marathon, physically organising, providing transport, providing all sorts of things.
I'm trying to get other people to provide things. That's the main thing I've been quite good at. Really.
But your contacts in the business world, no doubt you've been able to call on some of those from time to time. Now that started back in Round Table, didn't it?
It did, yes, yeah. You've learned a lot in Round Table. It's
and I met a lot of people.
A lot of people.
Yeah, and I also understand that from that you got involved in the national position and international position.
Yes,
you were diary secretary.
Diary secretary to the Round Table president, which is quite an involvement of a job, really. You've got a 3-year term, really, because you've got the vice president, president, and immediate past chairman and vice president, we're organising him to travel around the country, going to, at the time, Round Table was very, very big thing back in the 70s, 80s. It was a very busy place to be, so I think we were something in the region of 20,000 members.
You also were running your own business as well throughout this.
Well, they all reckoned I've retired years ago. But that's what you do, isn't it? So,
but that led you to make these contacts, and I think you put the two things together: the business aspect and the people that you met who were in business, and the charity work that were done, led to you being awarded the Freedom of
Decorum. I was in 2014 for my services to the community and business, which was a terrific honour, from a man who was expelled from school.
Yeah, I will come to that, because there's a very interesting story, isn't there? Because, as I understand it, the headmaster that expelled you, tell us about it. You met him later in life.
Well, I did meet him later in life. He was I was elected a director of the Hemel Hempstead Building Society. It was a great shame that it ceased to exist in the Big Bang period in the 80s. But at the time, it was going great guns, and it was its 100th anniversary, and I was wheeled out as the youngest director ever of the Building Society, and in its 100 years. And they had the Lord Lieutenant of Hertfordshire, the Sheriff, and all loads of other dignitaries there, and the Mayor of it was Hemel Hempstead, but it changed to Decorum at the beginning of that year. And going around shaking hands with everything, I get to the mayor of Decorum. I said, "Hello, Jack. I haven't seen you since you expelled me," and which did cause quite a bit of an interesting conversations.
I would imagine it did. Obviously not expecting the person that he'd kicked out of school for being a bit of a scallywag or whatever it was, was here in front of him in a significant role in significant company. And
yes, that's I think for me. Yeah, the thing for me was a significant.
But that's not
company.
the only revenge you've taken, is it? Because as I understand it, the school at the time, what was the school?
Warner's End Secondary Modern,
which is now
at JFK.
And you have.
I have a grandson there, and my daughter is a governor. So and going there, I went back to one of their plays a little while ago, and I said to their headmaster, or assistant headmaster, I think it was, that I hadn't been back in the school for 60 years. You know, and they still got the same staircase that I went up to.
Well, that's a fascinating. But it wasn't just that you got the freedom of the borough for the work that you'd done. You also got an honour from
I was on the Queen's Birthday Honours list in 2016. I was awarded the British Empire Medal for services to the community and business. So, which was it's a very, very proud man that I was, and plus it was on. The joy of it was as well, I shared a birthday with Her Majesty as well, the 21st of April, and to get it in the birthday honours list, it was something very special for me.
Yes, I'm sure it is, and well deserved by all the work that you've done, because you don't get through those things to that level without a whole raft of things that you've done. Not just, you don't just do one thing. You do many things, and I'm sure.
Well, it's just making other people do all those bits and pieces for me as well.
I've
been very fortunate.
As you do in Rotary, and also offering your advice.
A lot of people don't think it's advice. They think it's
whether it's wanted or not. Whether it's wanted or not.
Yes, I tend to don't hide my light under a bushel.
Yes, the background, the expulsion from school, and I understand from talking to you that you had a period where you were going to many different schools before that.
I think it came to 13.
You had to have a strength of character coming from that. You learned life's.
I think it was the University of Life.
The University of Life.
And
that stood you in pretty good stead.
Yeah, I still don't think it. I think you've got to be. I've missed a lot of other things, but I might have not got where I am now.
But you have got some other things. You've got a passion for motor vehicles.
Yes, I do like my motor cars.
Yes, you've got.
We've got. I own a 1901 steamer with another Rotarian, Jim Gregory, and we've got another car as well, a 1912 Overlander, which is a big Bonnie and Clyde car. Wonderful. One of these days we're going to get it out and run it, but the steamer does cause us some interest. I got an.
You've had this in the London to Brighton.
Yes. The steamers. We've done it. We've done London to Brighton. We've got a medal for 10 years, so I presume 10-year medal for it. So I presume
it hasn't always been plain sailing.
It hasn't been plain sailing. It does have a tendency to catch fire occasionally, but nothing too drastic.
In the middle there, you've just acquired a new vehicle. One that you've always wanted.
I've always wanted a Daimler Dart, and I've just acquired it. A 1963 Daimler Dart. I used to have back in the dim and distant past, a Daimler 250, which was the Jaguar Mark II. It was a Daimler, but and we've got 1930 Austin 7 race car that I still race to this day.
Whilst we're on the subject of racing, we've gone from London to Brighton in a steam car.
We've raced around Le Mans with the 24-hour classic Le Mans, which was absolutely fantastic. And I must say that I've just lost last week my friend that I've been racing with for many years. So
Okay.
it's,
So there you are, all those things, a life of keeping your feet on the ground, driving cars, but you don't always keep your feet on the ground. You haven't always kept your feet
no,
on the ground.
I do like flying. I've never actually got a license, but I have flown. Very fortunate to have flown and flown a Spitfire, and
Wow,
several other things. Even a flight in Concorde, so I've actually flown.
wow. So, yeah, absolutely, and amazing. I mean, it's the old question of engineering. You're repairing cars, fixing cars, driving cars, acquiring cars, flying mechanical vehicles in the air. It just is very much my impression of you, that you are a man of many interests. Despite all the work you've put in, you have managed to indulge.
Well, I've indulged, and I've managed to employ quite a lot of people in this in this thing. Now, company has been running now
Excellent.
for 57 years, and
people will know that name.
Yeah.
Berkhamsted people will know that name.
Yeah, Furnell transport. Yeah, but I've
But
tried
it's
to
not
get
the,
others.
it's not just the big ticket items, though, is it? Like the marathon and the fireworks and even your business. You drive everything, most things, let me say, if not everything. And I make reference now. Anybody that goes to the station in Berkhamsted, outside the entrance, there's a bench, and it's a tribute to, or a memorial of Matthew Miners, one of our youngest members who unfortunately and tragically died through COVID.
Yeah.
You initiated the idea of the bench. You, in fact, not only initiated it, you got it put together, and not only put together, but you maintained it.
Well, I might tell you, but the one thing was that I managed to get sufficient funds from different people, from people that he worked with, and Rotarians, and different areas that Matthew came from. So we actually, it was probably one of the easiest fundraising things I've ever had to do. Probably the hardest bit was to try and make sure that the wording on it was correct and everybody was happy with what we'd put on it. But it's a very worthwhile thing for Matthew, and he was a great man.
That's an example, David, of what I see you doing. That's just one of many other things. It's not the big ticket items. It's not the extravagances, as it were. Sometimes it's just the backroom stuff, just the little stuff.
I joined Rotary saying that I didn't actually, because I've been involved in Roundtable and all these other fundraising things, and I've been involved with Woodfield School for nearly 50 years now. And I just felt that I didn't want to be chair of this and chair of that, and I'll just be a backroom boy, just the black hands. And,
you failed, David.
I failed
because people don't see you as a backroom boy.
Yeah, but you try. You
may not have got the
the
position.
thing is that I it's like the business. I just expect people, when I ask them to do something, to do it, and I'm surprised if it doesn't happen.
Yeah,
and
I'm the way
very
you ask, I'm surprised it.
but I do. Everybody says, how do you do all these things? What do you do? Why have you done all these things? I said, well, one of the things I don't do is watch very much television or thing. I probably do too much on the computer now, but God bless Amazon. There are other companies.
Now, you come across your work and your involvement in all strangest places. I know that, Mel, you're a good lady. I used to go walking the dogs across the fields just up from there, down through what I call Dingley Dell.
Yeah.
And as you rise up the other side, there's a bench there.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a tribute to Mel, isn't it?
Well, we've been married now. That's my second wife, and she has the unfortunate thing of being, looking after my care. She's my carer now, really.
Yeah.
And you think I rush around. Yeah, there's another one. But I thought, well, I've got to get something for her for a wedding present, you know, something. So I hunted around and I got in touch with Ashridge, and they came up with a bench for her. Yeah. So, and I was going to present it to her. We had 2 receptions, one down in Dorset where we got married, and then the one here for friends here. And she'd already been sitting on the bench when I gave her the brass plaque.
Well, what I say, your name crops up in all the most unusual places. I mean, I staggered up that hill because it's quite a climb.
Steep, yeah.
And I thought it's a bench. And you sit down to catch your breath, and suddenly you find out there's your name as a tribute.
Yes, it's all part of the advertising.
Well, David, the future, I know you're going travelling, you like to travel. You went to Antarctica, yes?
Yeah, hopefully in November.
And then back into the fight to do the work that you've done throughout your life by the sound.
Well, I'm trying to slow down and stop a bit, you know, but it's, you know, when you've got a very forthright lady you're married to, you don't get a lot of chance to slow down.
I know
sit down and read the paper. You know,
I know Mel as well. She's involved in a wheel and many of the activities that take place that Rotary are involved in. So
and putting up with me.
David, don't ever stop, and it's very much appreciated. And if you ever get to write these things down and make a book of it, whatever the situation, people would see a life well lived, well worthwhile, and hopefully going on for a long time. Don't ever stop. David, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Really enjoyed it.